Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and maybe good night after you finish listening to this Tuesday edition of Istanbul's Everyday English. I'm Natalie, and I am here today to discuss the suffix ken. I love this suffix. I use it a lot when I speak. It's very useful, and it's short. Because in English, when we express the same idea, we must use a number of words. Now, when I refer to ken, I'm talking about, çocukken ata biniyordum. When I was a child, I rode horses. Again, very useful in Turkish and more complicated in English. Now, the purpose of this podcast is to teach you that when you want to use ken, when you have an idea in Turkish and you think, well, normally I would say çocukken ata biniyordum, you are going to know what to say. I'm going to tell you what to say. You would say, when I was a child, I rode horses. Now, when I look at teaching materials for Turkish students, or even teaching materials for English students learning Turkish, often teachers will translate ken into while in Turkish. While I was a child, I rode horses. We don't say that. It does translate into while sometimes, in some instances, but not all the time. Most often, it translates into when. Now, this is important, because if you use while for the ken suffix all the time, you won't be speaking as correctly or naturally as you could in English. So, let me give you another example. Ben mutfakta yemek yaparken müzik dinlerim. Okay, literally translated. While cooking in the kitchen, I listen to music. While I am cooking in the kitchen, I listen to music. But I wouldn't say that in English. Honestly, I'd say I listen to music when I'm cooking. Or when I'm cooking in the kitchen, I listen to music. But really, you could also even say, I listen to music when I cook. Or I listen to music when I'm cooking. So again, the translation of ken is kind of formal and long and unnecessary. Hopefully, by the end of this podcast, we'll have cleared that up. Okay, this is a great one. Sinemada film izlerken patlamış mısır yedim. Alright, sinemada film izlerken patlamış mısır yedim. Alright. While watching a movie at the cinema, I ate popcorn. I would never say this. I ate popcorn when I was watching a movie. That's a very close translation. There's no mention of cinema in there. What would I say? I ate popcorn at the movies. Being at the cinema is where we are, but we can use at the movies instead of while I was at the cinema, because everybody understands what it means to be at the movies. You can simply say, I'll say again, I ate popcorn at the movies. There's no while, there's no when, totally unnecessary. So in our example, çocukken ata biniyordum, that action is in the past. Both of those things. I'm not a child now. I was a child. And when I was a child, I rode horses. Okay? Now, in this example, in this usage, one thing is incomplete. It doesn't happen. All right, here's the example in Turkish. Biz tam evden çıkacakken yağmur başladı. Biz tam evden çıkacakken yağmur başladı. So we were leaving all right, literally, while we were leaving the house, it started to rain. So we were getting ready, getting our purse, combing our hair, brushing our teeth, I don't know. We were doing these things and we were going to leave the house, but the rain started. The act of the rain starting is finished, but us leaving the house, it's incomplete. It doesn't happen. And we use the word tam, which I found interesting because to me, tam means full. I know dolu also means full, but for me, tam means full. But in this example, it means exact. At the exact time we were leaving the house, the rain started. So it's creating a connection between the two actions in time. We're leaving the house, we're getting ready to leave the house, we're doing all the things we do to leave the house, or when we leave the house, and then the rain started. Now in English, we would say, just as we were leaving the house, it started to rain. Or it started to rain just as we were about to leave the house. Now, that's the word just instead of the tam. We also use about. We were about to leave the house when it started to rain. We're just going to leave the house when it started to rain. And people really do use about a lot. Okay. So while we were leaving the house, don't really say it. All right. When we were leaving the house, okay. Just about to leave the house, better. So we use just as, just about to, when, instead of tam and can. All right, another example, just to drive home the point. Tam ders çalışacakken elektrikler gitti. If we notice, çalışacakken is in the future. That's in the future. That was my intention. That was my idea. But then the electricity shut off. So, tam ders çalışacakken elektrikler gitti. In English, I was about to study when the electricity went out. Now, this is a good one. While I was going to study, the electricity went out? No, it doesn't make any sense. All right, I love this one. I like this one because although I might use the other one, just about to, or, while we were getting ready to leave the house, the rain started, I would use that. I will learn that and use that more, definitely. But this one, I would never use this. I'm sure Turks use this, but I just wouldn't. So again, it could be because my level is not at C1 or maybe it's at B2. I don't know. Anyways, all right. Markete gitmişken bana da bir meyve suyu al. Okay? Markete gitmişken bana da bir meyve suyu al. I guess you're going to the market. So buy me a juice. If I was in Turkey, which hopefully I'll be next summer, very soon, I'd say to my friend, markete gidiyor musun? And my friend would say, evet, markete gidiyorum. O yüzden. Then I would say, o yüzden bana bir tane meyve suyu alabilir misin? I wouldn't say the other, it seems very formal to me, but that's what it means. It means buy me a juice while you're at the supermarket. Or since you're going to the supermarket, hey, buy me a juice. I'll give you the money. The idea is you're already there. You're already the reported. reported form, which we don't have in English really, and I love. And I don't know, but I think I heard it's very cultural. So in this case, it means you're already there. Grab me some juice. Here's another example. Ugh, this is my daughter talking. Mutfağa gitmişken bana da bir bardak su getir. While you're in the kitchen, grab me a glass of water. The idea is I'm already in the kitchen. Well, you're already in the kitchen. Since you're already in the kitchen, grab me that glass of water that I want. And I always say, get your own glass of water. No, I get her a glass of water, but I do want to say, can't you get your own glass of water sometime? All right, let's move on from there. I think you understand that. I hope you do. If you don't understand something, put it in the comments. I will respond to you. I don't know when I will respond to you, but I will, I promise. Okay, now, we were looking at Ken with kind of verbs. Now we're going to look at it with nouns. Türkiye'deyken çok mutluydum. Türkiye'deyken çok mutluydum. While I was in Turkey, I was very happy. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, you can, it's correct. While I was in Turkey, I was very happy. Better, I was very happy when I was in Turkey. I was very happy when I was in Turkey. Or we can switch the clauses. So I was very happy when I was in Turkey. I can switch them. When I was in Turkey, I was very happy. But you know what I would say? If people ask me about living in Turkey or my time there, my 10 years there, I'd say I was very happy in Turkey. Actually, I'd probably say I was really happy in Turkey. I love Turkey. It's amazing. I was really happy there. As much as you can be happy every day. But yeah, Turkey's an amazing country. I love it. All right. More examples. Öğrenciyken çok çalışkandım. Öğrenciyken çok çalışkandım. When I was a student, I was hardworking. So that's what I would say. When I was a student, I was very hardworking. Or I worked hard when I was a student. In my opinion, or in my case, I didn't work hard when I was a student, which meant I worked harder after. Okay, so that's an example with nouns. Nouns are a little more direct, I'm seeing, in my opinion. It's a bit easier, I think, for Turkish speakers to understand. Let's look at adjectives. All right, again, Turkish it's nice. It's a great language. Bekarken, hastayken, sıcakken. English is like when I was a bachelor for a man or when I was single. So, babam bekarken çok zayıfmış. When my father was single, he was very thin. When my father was single, he was very thin. Or when he was a bachelor. What about this? Ben hastayken çok kötü hissediyordum. Ben hastayken çok kötü hissediyordum. All right, I felt really bad when I was sick. So when I was sick, I felt really bad. How about this one? Hava sıcakken ders çalışmak istemiyorum. Well, don't live in Antalya because it's really hot there mostly all the time. All right, when it's hot, I don't want to study. When it's hot, I don't want to study. So that's it. It's not that hard, I think. I hope I've given you an overview. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify and you're a bit confused, still go watch the video. It has the captions. And then you will be able to read along and see the writing. I'm very visual. if someone says something to me, I say, can you write it down? When I'm learning a language, I really need to see the word and hear the word at the same time, which is, a good idea anyways. Okay, what are the common mistakes Turks use with this suffix in English when they want to say can? This is a very useful suffix in Turkish, as I said at the beginning, but it's not so much in English. We do use this construct, but we're not using it in the same way. Now, using while for unfinished actions, like I said, while we were leaving the house, it started to rain. It's okay. It's okay. It does make sense. But about to, just as, just about to, and when. When we were getting ready to leave the house, it started to rain. That's the other thing I want to mention, which I have a whole week planned for that. Question words. I think I mentioned this in another podcast. So sometimes, just like I said yesterday, my students will hear do and they'll think yapmak. When it's just a helper verb. A lot of my students, when they hear the word when, they're thinking ne zaman. They're thinking the question word. But in this case, when is the can suffix. It's being used in the place of the can suffix in English. So that's another thing that we need to remember. And also just forgetting all the words that we need in English instead of just having that cute little one suffix, which I love very much. And can, by the way, just like last week, ed, I did the ed suffix, the ed suffix. Ed is a man's name, and Ken is also a man's name. I had a boss called Ken once. He was a good boss. All right, I think that is what I wanted to say. That's it. That's the Ken. It's a balance doing this podcast because I'm trying to give you information that's going to help you and give you all the information you need. But at the same time, I don't want to overwhelm you. I want to teach you what to say and when. That's the tagline of this podcast. I should put it in my description. I guess I'll do that. I'm still learning, people, and learning is fun. I hope this podcast is fun for you and that you're learning from it. I hope I'm making learning fun for you and easy. Tomorrow, we are going to do kendi. Kendi. When we want to use kendi in English, what are we going to say? That's tomorrow. I hope to see you then and have a great day, evening, whenever you're listening to this. Thank you so much. Subscribe if you like this. Subscribe on Spotify. And if you want to, you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Enjoy English Online. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Goodbye.